Hey everyone, it's Erica. Welcome back to part 2 of my journey in creating my self-portrait. In part 1, I walked you through the inspiration and fabrication behind the jewelry box for Keepsake, a mixed media sculpture built from memory, metal, and meaning. Today, we're diving into the painting process and the decisions that brought each object to life. First things first, I knew I wanted the objects to be resting in the box, but not distracting from the craftsmanship. So I cut 2 pieces of clear acrylic panel and inlaid them into the jewelry box. Then I gathered some meaningful objects and settled on a composition that told a story and drew the viewer's eyes around to the different treasures. I used a yellow ochre for the underpainting to set the warm tone and give the paint something to stick to instead of that slippery acrylic panel. Some of the trinkets I chose to include are a paintbrush to represent my art journey, my TIG welding consumable kit, a beautiful Venetian glass necklace from my first trip abroad, and a couple pairs of earrings I was gifted by loved ones. As a nod to the call for art, I painted a small self-portrait of my childhood self tucked inside a locket, as to represent a childlike wonder I still try to view the world with. One of my biggest challenges I faced with this work was composition. The object I chose to include was a Polaroid of my parents. I started by referencing a wide shot of my parents on their wedding day, sitting on the ground with their dog, and a garage in the background. But once I painted it, I realized it felt too distant and distracting, emotionally and literally. I wanted intimacy, not documentation. So I made the call to cover it up. Instead, I zoomed in, cropped the photo, and softened the background. It gave me just enough detail to convey their expressions, while letting the purple tones unify the brush and bracelet nearby. This taught me something I want to share. Reference photos are just a starting point. You can and you should change them to fit the mood, focus, and style of your painting. Working on this gold butterfly brooch, meant to represent my own metamorphosis of sorts, reminded me of another thing I recommend for anyone wanting to hone their painting abilities. Do small studies. Painting metal, fabric, and people all have different challenges, and a still life gives you the space to focus on one object at a time. If you struggle with a certain subject matter or texture, work on a bite-sized painting as a way to further develop your skills without getting overwhelmed. Here's another one with the Wisconsin quarter, to represent the place I call home and my fondness for coins. I had a scaled reference photo to help me get all the details right. Working on these objects one at a time, like the butterfly pin, the earrings, and even the coins, they helped me experiment with color and texture without the pressure to get it right the first time. Each object holds memory, but bringing them together required patience and flexibility. I adjusted colors to tie the palettes together, especially the maroon tones across the brush, cord, photo, and beads. It's like telling a story through repetition, rhythm, and restraint. This piece taught me that painting isn't just technique, it's problem solving. And when you treat every adjustment not as a mistake, but as a refinement, it all starts to come together. Here's another perfect example. I was struggling to paint the earrings for my reference photo, so I ran upstairs and grabbed my actual reference object. And there was such a difference in detail from painting from a photo versus painting from life. Just another benefit of the accessibility of still lifes as a subject matter. Thanks for following along as I painted Keepsake. If you haven't seen part 1, it's linked below. And if you're working on a still life of your own, I hope this helped give you the tools and confidence to shape it into something personal. And if you have interest in seeing this work in person, it's on view at the Cedarburg Art Museum until August 3rd of 2025. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.